Hello, PyOhio 2022. I'm super excited to be with you all remotely as it may be and give you a little intro, quick talk about bootstrapping your local Python environment. So let's get it kicked off. My name is Hendryx-Parker. I am CTO and co-founder of 6 Feet Up. We are a Python and cloud consulting company located in Indiana, your near neighbor to the west. But I'm excited to be here for PyOhio. So let's get started. First thing I like to do for our presentations, at least for ones about getting started, is going to be setting an intention. This is something I tell our beginners to always do, is to use a little Easter egg that's built into Python called this module. And if you import this, it will print out the Zen of Python. If you've not ever read it before, I highly recommend you going through it. We're going to use a couple of these tenets today in this talk, but I always tell people to print this out, hang it on the wall, and they can actually read it while they brush their teeth at night. I think it's an excellent practice to be in, and it applies to more than just Python. There's lots of ways that this will make your life better. So why are we talking about this today? Because we don't want this to happen. If you're familiar with XKCD, there is a great comic from a while back about Randall Munroe's Python environment and what happened to it as he got basically more and more junk installed on his computer. You'll see in here there's like Homebrew and Anaconda and like a system Python, and all these things kind of get installed into your system, and we want to make it so that you understand and have greater control over what's going on in your life and in your Python. Now, Python comes in many places. I think that's what gets really confusing for a lot of people, is that you can get Python provided by your operating system, whether you're on Mac or Ubuntu or Red Hat. Python can come from an app store. For example, the Microsoft App Store includes a Python installable right in there. You could be downloading the installer or the source code from python.org. You could get it from a package manager such as apt, or Homebrew, or Chocolatey on Windows, or you could be using a specific Python distribution like Anaconda or ActiveState. So with all these options, what is a person to do? Well, why should you care about all this is really why we're here. Because we want to stay Zen. I think this is where our Zen of Python reflection will come into play, is because these three specific ones, I think, really fit our needs here. The beautiful is better than ugly, the explicit is better than implicit, and the simple is better than complex. We want to keep things as simple as possible until they can be no simpler. And this starts with kicking off our projects and bootstrapping them in a clean and easy to use way. So let's start off with some rules, some quick ground rules for being productive with your computer and getting your Python bootstrapped onto your system. First one is going to be no sudo, or no administrative privileges whatsoever. If you need to use sudo or a root account to install Python onto your system, you're definitely going down a dangerous path. I don't care, no whining, no sudo. That's just how this is going to work. We should be able to install Python onto our system without having to use elevated privileges. This is just a good practice to be into, and we're going to start here with our Python installation. We're not going to use the system Python. That Python is not for you. It is not there for you to use. It is there for the system to use. So there are utilities inside of Red Hat and Ubuntu that are going to depend on that system Python. And if you do something that could mess up that system Python by installing incompatible versions of packages versus the ones that the system's depending on, your system could end up in a very unstable state, and that's not where we're going to be. And don't use it for anything, I promise you. If there's an easy way to make sure that this is all very stable for yourself. Okay, smart guy, what are we going to do? How are we going to get Python onto our system? How are we going to make sure this is clean and easy and repeatable for us as we use Python for our day-to-day life? I want to introduce all of you to PyEnv. PyEnv is a great way to change the global Python interpreter based on your usage, whether it's a per user basis, like different users have different versions of Python, different projects have different versions of Python, or you want to override the Python version with an environment variable or search for commands for multiple versions of Python at the same time. PyEnv gives you a lot of flexibility in easily installing multiple versions of Python and managing those versions of Python on your system. There's installation instructions here on GitHub, but one of the easiest ways to get started with PyEnv is probably to install it with Homebrew if you're on Mac or Linux. I also recommend Homebrew for those who are on Linux. It's a very easy way to keep that parity between the Mac community and the Linux community, is to use Homebrew to install many of the packages I need for doing my development. If you're on Windows, there is a PyEnv port of Windows because the standard PyEnv does not work on Windows. So check that out there. You might be able to install it via Chocolatey. I'm not sure because I'm not a Windows user, but PyEnv is a great way to get started. Okay, let's go see PyEnv in action. We're going to use a couple add-ons to PyEnv that make our lives even easier for using sandboxes for our code and the projects we're doing. So let's get started. We're going to make a couple example directories here. Before, I'll just show you, if you just run PyEnv from the command line, PyEnv itself has a bunch of subcommands that make it easy for you to activate and deactivate virtual environments or install and use specific versions of Python. So you would actually use PyEnv to find and install a version of Python. So if we do PyEnv install -- list, you can actually see a list of all the Pythons that are available. I recommend python.grep if you're looking for a specific version or the latest version of like 3.10, for example. This is an easy way to find the latest version of 3.10, whether you're going to use the standard from python.org version, the miniconda version, or some other version of Python 3.10 that's supported by PyEnv. But there you can see we've got 3.10.1 through 5. Currently, I've got, if you look on my system, if I just do the versions command, you can see the various Python versions that are installed on this system, including a couple virtual environments there. But you'll see my global Python interpreter has been set to 3.10.3, and that's the version coming from our global Python interpreter. Let's go ahead and use that. So we're going to make a directory for our projects. We'll make two of them. We'll make a project 1 and a project 2. And if we go into project 1, I'm going to set a local Python environment here. So PyEnv local to set a local specific one. And I've got a default one already set up for project 1. So we're going to assign project 1 environment here. And you'll notice my command line changed. I've got a project 1 environment activated. So that's actually the virtual environment that's activated using a specific version of Python right here. So if I do pip freeze, I've got requests 2.27.1 installed. If I cd out of the directory and I do pip freeze again, I should see nothing installed. So when I cd into the directory, PyEnv actually has an extension that activates and deactivates the virtual environments automatically. So we'll go back into project 1 and do pip freeze here. I can assure you that we now have stuff installed. So it makes it easy for you to not think about when I'm going into, if you're working on multiple projects in a day, moving between them can be kind of tricky. Let's create a second environment here in our project 2. And so we'll do PyEnv virtual environment, and we'll create a project 2 env. And once we make that, it gives us the virtual environment, but doesn't activate it. So we're going to have to activate it and tell PyEnv we want to use it. So we'll set up PyEnv local project 2.env. And if we do pip freeze, we should see nothing installed. This should be a clean environment right here. Nope, nothing installed. Let's install a specific version of requests that's different than our first one, because we want to use the cardet library instead of the car set normalizer that is now the new default in requests, because maybe your project requires that. So we'll go ahead and get the specific version of requests for using cardet on Python 3. And when we install this, we can now see we got pip freeze, a different version of requests, and a different version of cardet. If we go up and do a quick diff, give me the version of it. We'll go up and we'll do a quick diff of these two environments. So we'll see into project 1 and do a freeze. And we'll do the same thing over in project 2. cd project 2. And my gosh, sorry, I can't type. And pip freeze. You can see we have two projects with two different sets of dependencies, and you can see, oh, I gotta do project 2. My goodness. I swear I'll get this right. We'll redo this. So if we go up a directory, and now if we want to see the difference between those two projects, I'm going to cd into project 1 and project 2 simultaneously here and do a diff between the two pip freezes. So you can see we've got one version of project 2 has cardet, and the project 1 has car set normalizer. and they have two different versions of requests. We've got 271 and 281 installed into two different project directories to make our life a lot easier. So you can see right there, we've used PyEnv to make our lives a lot easier. We used a couple plugins here. So we're using the PyEnv virtualenv plugin and the PyEnv virtualenvwrapper plugin. If you just homebrew search for PyEnv, you'll see you'll see PyEnv, and you'll see the couple plugins that are available to make your life a lot easier for using PyEnv. You can also just use plain old virtualenv and virtualenvwrapper. They work as well, but if you're already in the PyEnv environment, it works pretty nice, and you should just use that. Virtual environments are now included out of the box of Python, so you don't actually need to even install any of those things. If you have simple needs, then maybe you just want to use the venv module, and so you can actually just spawn a new virtual environment, like right here, using the python -m venv command, specifying the directory of your new virtual env. So this will create a directory where you're at called venv, and then from there you can activate it and pip install into that sandbox. I find the PyEnv version to be a lot better if you're working on a lot of different projects, because it simplifies that activation, deactivation by doing a lot of that for you. Now, I like to use tools like PyEnv or pipenv or httpy from the command line, and I don't want to have to worry about how to manage those either. So there's a cool tool out there called pipex. If you've not used it, it's a great way to use Python-based command line tools with installing them from PyPy directly, but not having to worry about like the dependencies and having them have their own virtual environments. pipex manages all that. So actually, if you wanted to try out pipex, we'll do a quick little demo here. It's a pipex list. You can see all the environments I currently have. So I've got like Black installed and Docker Compose and isort. If I want to install httpy, you just pipex install httpy. It makes a new virtual environment right there for you. You can see at the very top of that directory listing that all these VMs are stored in a .local pipex VMs directory. So it's hidden from normal view, but there is a way people get them and see them. And now I will have the HTTP command available to me to use for all my tools. So that is pipex. You may also be aware that there is a user scheme, which may seem like it's a sandbox, but it's not really. You're really going to be using the user scheme. Just gives you a .local Python library directory where it stores your site packages, and it also gives you the same risks as if you're using the system Python, in that you could install two things simultaneously and have them collide with one another. But you may say there's tons of other tools out there. There are, and some of them may fit your needs better than others, but I definitely recommend PyEnv over a lot of those things. Now, if you want complete repeatability and simplicity, I like the tool piptools. So if you check out piptools, it has a piptool compile that allows you to build dependency files for your project, where you manage just the main dependencies, and piptools manages all the leaf dependencies, and it can track things like hashes to make sure you've got repeatability in your project itself. Now, if you really want super repeatable, I would combine piptools with Docker, and you have the ultimate in containerization, isolation, and repeatability, so that you could pull a project back out 6 months from now and get exactly the same bits written down into that container as you did the 6 months prior when you created the project. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. I am calvin@6feetup.com, or you can find me on Twitter @calvinhp, and I'd be happy to answer any and all of your questions about bootstrapping Python. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great PyOhio. See you all later.